Shadowverse. Honest to God, one of the worst anime experiences of my life. This show was one of the most uninspired, by the numbers, just passionless wastes of time I've ever seen. It existed to sell you a card game and give you nothing else in return, which it didn't even do very well to begin with. And some of you may now be saying, but it's a card game anime. Who cares if it's good? Who's dumb enough to think there's any actual artistic value in this kind of crap? I am! I eat, sleep, and breathe card game anime. I talk about the Yu-Gi-Ohs. I talk about the Card Fight Vanguards. I just talked about the Build Divides, and now I'm behind on Yu-Gi-Oh! And Card Fight Vanguard because I was working on that video in this one. But that is totally irrelevant, sort of really not. Yeah, I gotta do time management better. But Shadowverse was bad. And I know what a card game anime is bad, which meant when it ended and we had no news in sight of what was coming next for this franchise, I squealed with joy as my enemy was taken away, beaten down, never to be heard from again, which of course meant it then got a Season 2 announcement shortly after. But yeah, because I obviously didn't like the first one, I had absolutely no interest in seeing anything else from this brand. So when it premiered last anime season, I basically ignored it and tried to avoid it at all cost, which resulted in a lot of people actually telling me to check out the new one, that it was actually pretty good. And I was being told this by people who don't normally recommend card game anime to me. So that's when I started thinking, well, maybe there's something to see here. But then I also started remembering all the times people told me something was good and I hated it. So I went into this not sure what to think, and after watching 16 episodes and remembering that I am the guy who often has a different opinion and thinks he's smug because he disagrees with the rest of the world, this show's actually really good. I really enjoy it and have had a lot of fun watching it and getting caught up, and am genuinely excited to see where this goes. I'm saying this about Shadowverse. I know, I never thought I would be either, but here we are. And I want to talk about Shadowverse for the next, 7 minutes. So let's do it. This show gets just so many things right. It's very fun, it's very entertaining, and I think a lot of it is that it wanted to put character first, which to me is always what you should do in these types of shows. If the characters are good, people will go along with whatever dumb, ridiculous thing you come up for them to go with, and these characters are actually pretty good. You've got your protagonist, Light. Things never go well when an anime character is named Light, but okay. He's like just the antithesis of everything card game anime. The first episode sets up that you expect him to be the loud idealistic who just screams about how much he loves the product he exists to endorse and how it's the key to everything. And literally everyone's like, you're in Shadowverse College now, where Shadowverse is great and the best and everyone loves Shadowverse and you must love Shadowverse too. And he's like, nah, not really. Some guy just gave me a scholarship to the school and I figured, why the fuck not? His just sort of attitude, I think, really anchors this show. He's just this down-to-earth, good-natured, but kind of easygoing guy who, if he dedicates himself to something, just kind of goes all in, and everything is kind of based around and anchored around that sort of mentality. And I think it really works for this sort of show. He doesn't really have a strong opinion on Shadowverse, so you get to see his interest in the game grow. The last kid, Hero, just immediately loved Shadowverse and couldn't wait to get into more Shadowverse, but because Light doesn't have that opinion, he's like you, the audience, and kind of a blank slate going into this, and you get to watch it form. And what I like is it's not just about being the best at Shadowverse. I don't think he really even cares about being that good at Shadowverse, but he sees how playing this game can sort of bring people together and help make friends and really start to understand each other. And as cliche as that sounds, card games do do that. I've talked about that a lot with both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard. The way it sort of forces interaction and allows for people to connect. I think this show actually does a really good job of representing that. I like the idea that each character kind of has their own shtick and gimmick that could easily just feel one note and one dimensional, but because when it's then brought back to the card game, they then use those moments to go into these people, just like what's affecting them emotionally. I think it actually really makes everyone feel relatable and grounded. Like, you could easily see yourself in a lot of these kids. Let's take, I don't remember everyone's names yet. Let's take this chick, Little Miss, I guess, Gyaru girl. Her whole thing, also spoilers, by the way, this is an ongoing show, go check it out. Her whole thing is that, like, her club got, like, publicly embarrassed and almost destroyed by the rival slash bully, and her whole 2-episode arc is just kind of based around seeing how that affects her, how it makes her want to be indifferent to everything, how she sort of, like, shuts off that part of her heart that wants to be passionate so that way she just doesn't get hurt again. And when she sees how our heroes are, like, do have that passion and enthusiasm, it angers her and she wants to lash out against it. Even if you have no interest in card games or have never gone through specifically what this character has gone through, I think most people can relate to the idea of frustration and not really knowing what to do in life and being kind of angered when you then see people who you think have it together. It's honestly very relatable and very likable. Also, there's an episode where they spend like a minute and a half on a shot of her butt, and take that how you will, these are middle school kids. I have also addressed that. Take that how you will. But yeah, and then you have other stuff. Like, my favorite character would have to by far so far be Subaru, who is great. He's just kind of this guy who, from what we know so far, and I love how, like, not everything is spelled out for you. You always have to experience everything with every character and see what's going on in their minds and to understand how things affect them. And I really like it with him the most. Like, from what we can sort of tell, he's this guy who has had some level of expectation put on him, and it either didn't work out or isn't work out, but something is causing him to be against the idea of aspiring to things. Something is really affecting his ability. Like, we see that it affects his relationship with his parents. It clearly affects his relationship with his brother, who's a pro Shadowverse player at a young age. And I like how you sort of see as he's kind of learning to be more okay with the idea of having a goal or wanting to try hard. And it's relatable, it's likable, and that's everybody in this. They really have gotten the art of showing everyone off as a person while also showing off the card game down to a really good formula. And yeah, you could say it is a little formulaic with everybody, but fuck it, it's a good formula. I really do enjoy every character and their interactions, and you know what? They do a better job explaining how the card game works now. Yeah, I didn't think the first series did a very good job of getting me invested in this game. I don't play Shadowverse, but based on this season, I kind of want to a little bit now. I really like seeing everyone's cards. I like how they explain how, like, the points and counter systems work in the game. I like how effects are explained better. I like how their little buddy fight knockoff characters are not their ace cards. Like, they're good implements of their strategies, but they're not their be-all end-all win condition. They're just a part of it, and I think that makes for a really good strategy and helps establish what makes decks interesting and gives them a variety. I also think the world is a lot more fun now. The first episode wastes a bit of time on exposition from the last season, but the rest of the time they do a good job of explaining how these clubs work, how other side characters function, how the world looks with all the extra technology. I think it makes for an overall fun viewing experience. Now, obviously, as always, we must talk about problems. There's, of course, the obvious factor. There's no guarantee this show will stay good. That's just kind of reality. We're only 16 in, and this is why I usually like to talk to shows at the end, but enough people have brought this up to me that I figured we should give Shadowverse its due. But again, obviously things could go all wrong. As for actual problems I've seen as of right now, it's not always as funny as I think it wants to be. It's usually pretty good, but some of the more, like, kid humor, focus group approved jokes don't always work. A lot of the exposition, like I said, is just kind of tedious and there to be there. I could see Light's kind of simplistic personality could become a little annoying as the show goes, especially if they don't develop him right. But I I have faith, and that is the best thing I could say about the show. Also, yeah, visually it's a little distinct, but even the way they use, like, the returning characters, got to talk about that. Alice and Me Marie are back. We know the green hair guy's coming back. I don't know who else is coming back. Hopefully nobody else. But they're even fun in this. I mean, Alice was kind of okay in the last one, and Me Marie was the only one who had a personality, so they went with the easy choices. But Alice is fun in her episode. Me Marie has a whole arc. I like that idea that just because they saved the world doesn't mean you get over things like social anxiety or shyness. And I like the way it related to Subaru, and even the introduction of the villain in that scene with the Colt dude was creepy. If you think that guy's creepy, just imagine what the main bad guy, probably that kid who's head of the school, will be like. And I'm excited. And that's my favorite thing about this anime, is I want to watch more Shadowverse. I never thought I would say that in my life, but I'm saying it now. Shadowverse Flame is actually really good, and I actually really recommend it to anyone who's willing to go into this sort of show with an open mind. God knows I had to take the time and get that myself. But tell me what you thought about this anime in the comment section below. Are you excited for more? What are your hopes and expectations? Tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for more anime discussion in the future.